22 exactly. Welcome back to the second hour of news and views right here on Salam Media. We are now looking at newly elected EFF Gauteng chairperson Nkululeko Dunga, who says that provincial structures must start gearing up for the 2024 general elections. He shared the stage with five others at the Provincial People's Assembly in Boksburg on Saturday. And it is said that the election was cast in stone, with reports that Dunga had received the blessing of EFF leader Julius Malema. Weighing in on this story is someone whom we've not talked to in a long time. Lovely to have you back on the show, Dr. Tshepo Moloi of UJ. Welcome and a very good morning to you.
Assalamu alaikum, Jilly, and jolly good morning to the rest of your listeners.
Walaikum salam. Nice to have you here. And what do you make of the remarks by the newly elected EFF Gauteng province chair? And that, of course, is Nkululeko Dunga.
So just off the bat, I think a general summary is that these elections that took place over the weekend of the People's Assembly, they basically proceeded according to the plans of the leadership of the EFF nationally, and yeah, so there was no there was no scandal, but we know that a few weeks ago, the CIC, Julius Malema, addressed allegations of meddling that he and his national executive had prepared candidates. Nkululeko Dunga, that you quote, who emerged as the chairperson, he's the former chair of the Kuruleni. He is definitely one of the names that was preferred by Julius Malema. The other name was Mvulane Mukweba, but he didn't emerge. The other name was Mushe Kona, who did emerge as a secretary. So, but Julius Malema he addressed these rumors in the briefing, and it was procedural issues. I think he laid all of them to rest, poured cold water over the allegations, and basically it was the delegates who voted for these five, the chair being Nkululeko Dunga, Deputy Chair Philip Makwala, Secretary Mushe Koma, and Deputy Secretary Bertol Munya. Sadly, all these failed. The only female was the fifth position, the treasurer, which was Jeanette Maloka. So again, this is bad for gender equality. But they then decided to lead the 21-person provincial command team of the EFF. They're expected, of course, as their mandate, to now basically get into the work of the campaign trail for the 2024 election.
Okay, so Dr. Tshepo, what do you make of this statement by the EFF? They are saying that Gauteng will no doubt be hotly contested terrain between now and the 2024 polls, with most parties eyeing control of South Africa's economic hub on the back of the ANC's continued decline. The EFF Gauteng People's Assembly, obviously we know, drew to a close yesterday. Are they kind of being too ambitious with a statement like this? Knowing and understanding that ANC is the biggest party in the country. EFF is got a 12% of the voter base. Do they truly believe that they could topple the ANC, or are they banking on coalition government? Coalition, smaller parties coming together and obviously opposing the ANC.
So I think it's best to begin with what the EFF itself has stated to the media. An interview with the new chairperson, over the weekend, Nkululeko basically said, look, whether we like it or not, if you look at our percentages in Tshwane, if you look at our percentages in Ekurhuleni, you will see that most of the fights that we've been having, we've needed assistance of other parties. For example, now they're lobbying to get rid of the DA
Yeah, as Joburg Mayor.
in Gauteng, and then
Mm.
they also having the same battle in Tshwane. And he gives the stats. He says, look, I think there we're about 12%. So we needed the help of the other political parties. And then also in Gauteng, same thing, more than 15%. So we need to go into coalitions with other parties in order for us to get our way through. So I don't think the EFF is blind to the reality that, yes, they will contest full on to get as many votes as they can. However, they are awake to the reality that they definitely need to work with other political parties. They're not naive to that reality.
Okay, I have two very important questions that I need to put to you, and then we can wrap up. Um, they're talking about going to coalition government with other parties, but clearly what's happened over the past 2 weeks and still currently on the table is the sacking, for want of a better word, of Vasco da Gama as speaker, and now it looks like they gunning for Palazzi. Doesn't that indicate that possibly coalitions do not work because each party are wanting their people on board in key positions? Question number one. And then question number two, I am still unclear as to what the EFF is offering the people of the country, because they chop and change unbelievably. They don't stick with one fight. They don't wait for the fight to end and start a new fight and show results to the people. They chop and change all the time. And to me, it just sounds like they make a lot of noise, and they are very opportunistic. Whenever they see an opportunity to have their name and their voices heard, that's where they'll jump on. Your thoughts?
Wow. Quite an opinion there. Yes? So let's begin with the first one. My reading, and this is my reading, is that the EFF have already realized that according to projections, the ANC will not make the 50% threshold, both
Right.
provincially and nationally. So they are now seeing a window where, for the first time, they will not really have to worry about the so-called white political parties in the opposition, and they see now that they will be having a much larger chance to actually negotiate with the ANC and therefore go into coalition with the ANC, something that we never thought could ever take place.
Ooh.
I think this is the reality that I think we're going into. Because if you look at their policies, their so-called radical economic
Yeah.
agenda, it's aligned with the former faction of NDZ, the radical economic faction of the ANC. And again, in terms of racial politics, they want the black majority. They want to appeal to the black majority. So working with the ANC looks like a more likely scenario for them, right? So that's my reading on who, in terms of the coalition and their attitude towards that, they likely are looking towards leaning to explore. And then with your last remark, being opportunistic and making noise, and really not having something to put on the table. I think, again, if I return to an interview that was given over the weekend by the new chair, Nkululeko, he says, look, if you look at us in terms of our government, we've always supported a stable government. We might not always be the senior partner in a coalition, but we have always supported a consistent position in terms of governance. Now, those are his words, okay? But what does EFF really bring to the table? I think we're at a time now where said what you would like to look at as, bread and butter issues is really what everybody wants to stand for in their manifesto. People don't want to hear any fancy language anymore. This policy positioning talk is really rhetorical. So EFF is really running that wave of we are youth, we have youthful leaders. The youth is the most highly unemployed category in the country. And so they're running on that agenda of we want to make as much noise to get rid of these old stoppies. And so I think they really just want to run on that, but with the view that once they do get the numbers that they get, they then obviously will return to their original position of, pushing an agenda that is totally got nothing to do, with what the voters are needing on the ground.
Well, we will wait and see. Very interesting times ahead, and we will be watching the EFF very, very closely. Very especially since they are targeting, and I think they do have the very hungry youth on their side. And let's hope that the promises they make to the youth, they are able to fulfill. Wonderful talking to you after such a very long time. Do hope to talk again with you sometime soon. Go well, and thank you for your time. That was Dr. Tshepo Moloi from UJ University. The time is exactly 9:34 a.m.